Hare Krishna, and a happy Ekadashi to everyone. I'm so pleased today to start off our new series with our guest Siddhanta Prabhu, who's going to be presenting today and on every Ekadashi this year the 26 qualities of a devotee as exemplified, as so perfectly seen in the person of Srila Prabhupada. And welcome, Siddhanta Prabhu.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity.
We're in two corners of the world.
That's right.
It's.
I think you're in a better quarter than I am in.
Wherever there is service, then that is wherever there's service to Srila Prabhupada, then we're all together. Correct. That's the beauty of Krishna consciousness. So you've been on recently on our show when we did our Kartik special, and we introduced you then. And in the descriptions of this program, we'll have the whole bio for you. But it's enough to say that we owe this unlimited gratitude to you for the Prabhupada Memories series that is now on YouTube, as well as the DVDs and the books too. So it's in many different forms.
Thank you for that. I appreciate that. But couldn't have done it without the 400 plus devotees I've interviewed, their willingness to share and the love they have for Prabhupada. So really all the acknowledgement should go to them.
So today and the coming Ekadashis, we're going to take each time exploring one of these qualities of a devotee as exemplified by Srila Prabhupada. So how are we going to start today?
So thank you everyone for joining and allowing me to have the opportunity to speak about Srila Prabhupada and through these memories and that give us as qualities of a Vaishnava. In any relationship to develop, we need to know about the person that we're developing a relationship with. It's very essential actually to understand and develop a relationship with Srila Prabhupada, who is, as he said, that his books will go on and be the law books in spiritual life for 10,000 years. So similarly, he will be our instructing guru, our Shiksha guru for the next 10,000 years. Hopefully we won't be around that end of that 10,000 years. Hopefully we'll go back before that. So today we'll start with the first story. Actually, it's from Gadi Prabhu. And this particular story I'm going to lead with because it gives title to gives evidence for the title of this program, which is A Perfect Gentleman.
We had an engagement for Prabhupada that evening at the WRUF, the radio station at the University of Florida, student run. But it was a very professional place, and Prabhupada had a particular interviewer who was trying to provoke him, trying to ruffle him, and asking questions like, so what do you bring to the world, this country, that we already haven't got? We have so many churches. What do you bring in that is so special? And Prabhupada said, I am bringing the authorized version. Authorized by who, he says. He said, by Lord Chaitanya. The man would never know who Lord Chaitanya was, but he said it so beautifully. He's authorized by Lord Chaitanya. And then he would continue with his antagonistic questions. And finally he said, so how would I recognize someone who is a follower of Krishna consciousness like that? A very strong accent. And Prabhupada said, he would be a perfect gentleman. And so And then we all realized that how beautifully and what a perfect gentleman Prabhupada had just been amidst those antagonistic type of questions. So we're all just falling in love with Prabhupada at every moment because it's impossible not to. His heart is so kind, and even kind to this man who was trying to provoke him.
So that's the anecdote that describes the meaning of our series, A Perfect Gentleman. And realistically, that's how you can, distinguish. Prabhupada was not sectarian, so he was, always told us that you can chant names of God, any bona fide name of God. And we don't say you can't chant Allah, you can't chant Yahweh, Jehovah, so many, 1,000 names of God. But by doing so, that will develop the godly qualities in that individual. So Prabhupada is that Acharya, and showing us that he was able to be kind even to this gentleman. And therefore he exhibited that quality of a Vaishnava, which is that he is kind, very kind to everyone. So that is our first anecdote for the day, which will give evidence as to Srila Prabhupada's quality. This next story is from our godbrother Kishore Das at the Bhaktivedanta Manor in 1973.
We're at the Bhaktivedanta Manor in 1973. And I'm in Prabhupada's room, his darshan room, which is upstairs. It's a beautiful big room, large room, and it's packed. And today, so far as I can remember, it's full of people from different religious denominations. At that time, Shyam Sundar had been inviting different people to come in and meet with Prabhupada. And today it was the interfaith almost, So leaders of different spiritual denominations, religious denominations had come to see who is this person, who is this Swami, the leader of this Hare Krishna group. So it was full of devotees and all these people. And Prabhupada was speaking away, explaining Krishna consciousness. And I'm standing somehow or other just next to Prabhupada, possibly because there's nowhere else to sit. And I've moved to the only place left, and it happens to be just behind Prabhupada. Now, the door slowly opens, and in walks a little 5-year-old boy, Premananda, who happens to be my stepson. I've recently married, and so he's my little stepson. And little Premananda happens to be dressed from head to toe in a sannyasi outfit with a little danda. And I think, what's his mother doing? What is she thinking about? And Prabhupada stops speaking and looks over, and his face turns into a smile from ear to ear. He says, Maharaj, like this, and his eyes open wide like this. He says, welcome, come. So little Premananda, somehow or other, he starts to clamber over all the people sitting in the room. He's just literally climbing over people to come forward to sit before Srila Prabhupada, who's at his table, and Prabhupada's just beaming at him, as though here comes the sannyasi from his travels, he's returned. And so he sits before Prabhupada, and Prabhupada's just smiling and addressing him, Maharaj. What is your name? Premananda. Premananda Maharaj. He says, take. And he offers him a sweet from there's a tray of sweet balls on the table. And so Premananda, he's sitting there, he puts one, and Prabhupada's just enjoying watching him eating the sweet and the sannyasi with the danda. I think he took another one, a second one as well, and Prabhupada's just enjoying seeing Premananda. And then he continues to address. Now the first thing I remember about all this is that when Prabhupada saw Premananda, his whole countenance changed. He was serious and stern one moment, and when Premananda walked into the room, Prabhupada almost became as a child. as Premananda. It was like two children in the moment. I could literally see a change. Prabhupada transformed into a child and then again transformed into the spiritual master and continued explaining to his audience about Krishna consciousness.
So Prabhupada was very kind, obviously giving an example again of his kindness, that he recognized and acknowledged everyone, no matter the age of their bodies. And in this case, a 5-year-old boy, Prabhupada immediately stopped everything and addressed and offered him some Mahaprasad. This next story is from a female disciple, Kishori. We have Kishore, now we have Manjari Devi Dasi, who is a French devotee. And she described to me a time in Vrindavan that she had an encounter with Srila Prabhupada that will also, as you'll see, give us another example of Prabhupada's kindness.
So one time in Vrindavan was the time of the mosquitoes. So we all got alert, and we all was told to be very careful, the servants in Prabhupada's quarter, to close perfectly the doors, so we don't want mosquitoes attack Srila Prabhupada. So one time, I will be so careful. So one time, I am coming. So for those who know Srila Prabhupada quarters, many of you, I am coming from his little kitchen by the garden and enter. So on the left there is Srila Prabhupada room, and on the right and straight you can go in his darshan room. So I am coming. So I am a little after Prabhupada sleeping room, and there come out on my right Arisori. So Arisori blocked me to go, and he started to scream at me. What are you doing? You never close Prabhupada's door. You want Prabhupada to be attacked by mosquitoes like this. And I was so careful to close the door. So I'm like this, and you go like this, and you are stupid, and scream and scream. So I'm like this. I'm trying to tell him, yes, I promise you, I did close the door. Okay. So, suddenly, I feel such a strong, I don't know how to say English, poignet, hand, such a strong like this, not on my sari, on my hip. One hand is catching my hip, but so strong, and pull me like this. And who is that? Srila Prabhupada. And he come in front of me like this, he put me behind him, and he went to Arisori. So what now? Why are you speaking to her like this? What is this? You should not speak like this to her. And Srila Prabhupada started to defend me like this. And he got so angry. So, the first thing is that Prabhupada touched me. And he defended me. And he always defend the poor, the one who are, women are nothing much. Like that. Oh, that was the unbelievable day, what Prabhupada did. Prabhupada had such a strong strength. You cannot imagine. Such strength.
This next story is given to us by Mukunda Goswami, who's, we know, living in Australia right now. But this time, at this particular time in our history, Mukunda was with Srila Prabhupada in London. And there was a time where they didn't have a lot of place to stay. And so John Lennon agreed for the devotees that they could stay at his estate.
While I was staying at John Lennon's estate in the servants' quarters, along with Srila Prabhupada in a different section, we were all told that the bricklayer that was on hire by John Lennon had experienced ghosts. He confided in his wife, who confided, so-called, with other female devotees, that he was hearing sounds that sounded like a body was being dragged across the floor above where he was living in chains. But he didn't want others to know about this. But somehow it did get back to Prabhupada that was happening. And the bricklayer was concerned that because he had heard these sounds that kept him awake at night, that he wouldn't be able to continue with his work of bricklaying for John Lennon. So it was becoming a very dangerous and critical situation. When Prabhupada heard about what was going on, he said that the devotee should go into the bricklayer's apartment when he wasn't there, have a roaring kirtan with blowing of conch shells and a very loud kirtan that went on for at least 4 hours, and that this would drive away the ghosts. What happened, we learned the next day, was that the bricklayer the following night didn't hear the sounds of what he thought were ghosts in the rooftop, and was able to get a good night's sleep and can carry on with his work. And so this story has a very happy ending. It's a true story, by the way, of an exorcism that was done by the holy name at the behest of a pure devotee, and it saved a person's livelihood and life.
Another example of Prabhupada's kindness, he had the remedy for this particular problem. You know, we all have we have material problems and we have spiritual problems. So Srila Prabhupada would also give us devotees cures for various material, physical ailments, even acne. He told them how to Siddhanta that, how to cure acne, and also at the same time giving us information how to cure our spiritual disease that we think that we're the body. So he's giving us those remedies and being kind. And obviously his greatest kindness is leaving his home in Vrindavan and coming to America with nothing and spreading Krishna consciousness on the order of his spiritual master. That's the ultimate kindness that we've exhibited. We'll end with one last story here, and then we can open it up for questions and answers if there are any in the audience. It's hard to see who's online here. But this one is from Madhavisa Prabhu, who sadly is not with us. He left 4 or 5 years ago. But Madhavisa, for those that don't know, he was a sannyasi. He served for many years in Australia. He's from America, but a great preacher, great kirtaniya, a Prabhupada man through and through, no doubt about it.
Well, Srila Prabhupada was, to our apparent limited vision, his health was deteriorating, and he requested that I come to India, to Vrindavan, to see him. So I just got married, and my wife was pregnant with my first son. So I couldn't leave, and we were living in a very remote part of Hawaii. So I couldn't leave at that particular moment. But I promised that as soon as my wife had her baby, then I would come. So time passed after my son arrived, and Shri Kirti came over to Maui from Oahu, and we flew off to India together. So at that time I wasn't living at a temple, so I let my hair grow a little bit longer than I should have. And when we arrived in Delhi, I thought, well, I can't go to see Srila Prabhupada like that, so we shaved up. And I had this big long sika. And Srila Prabhupada, when I walked in the room, it was a very, sober mood, dark, and everything was, subdued, and people were kind of morose, not making too much sound and everything. So I walked into Srila Prabhupada's room, and they said, oh, Srila Prabhupada, Madhavisa has arrived. So Prabhupada sat up in his bed, and I paid my obeisances, and Prabhupada, first thing he said, whoa, look at Madhavisa. He's maintaining such a nice sika. And he chuckled like that, knowing that, I hadn't maintained such a nice sika. I just had shaved up in Delhi train station. And the second thing he said, where is your wife? See, I had left Srila Prabhupada, I was a sannyasi, and then I had left and got married and everything like that. So that's not particularly the way you should do it. But Srila Prabhupada, he just shrugged that off. It was like immaterial to him. He wanted to know where my wife was. Not that, why have you got married? Why have you done this? He wanted to know, where is she? And he was fully aware that I was married and I had a child and everything like that, and he wanted to see her. And I said, well, Srila Prabhupada, she just had her first baby and she really doesn't want to travel. And she said, that's right, she shouldn't travel. But she is feeling okay? And I said, yes, she's feeling good. And you had a son? And I said, yes, Prabhupada, I had a son. And I said, and I named him Abhay Charan. Is that all right? And he said, yes. He said, that is okay. You've named him after your spiritual master. And then he went on to explain the famous purport that's in the Srimad Bhagavatam about the elephant and the crocodile. That the elephant is very mighty and very strong, but when he enters into the water, he becomes victimized by the crocodile because he's not in his proper atmosphere. If he's on the dry land, he can annihilate, he can crush the crocodile. But because he's in the water, he's at the mercy of the crocodile. So he said, similarly, we may be situated in the wrong atmosphere for executing Krishna consciousness. We must put ourselves in the right atmosphere, and then we can execute our Krishna consciousness and with all strength and vigor. So he said, it doesn't make any difference. You are a sannyasi, now you're a householder. That doesn't make any difference. The proper thing is just to go on with your Krishna consciousness, execute it. If you can't execute it, if you're becoming weak by artificially embracing a sannyas order, and you must take another order to become strong again, that is all right. But the most important thing is don't leave the association of the devotees, and continue on with your Krishna consciousness. And he made me feel so good, and it was very enlivening and personal to be with Srila Prabhupada in those last days.
Let me thank you for the meditation on Srila Prabhupada's kindness. It is one of those extraordinarily heartwarming qualities that even just from the perspective of how we've been given this opportunity is in itself such a great kindness. Like you pointed out, the kindness of coming to the West and accepting all of the austerities. We have a question from this is Shamasaki. Let's see. It is being. Where is it? Oh, there we go. The pastimes you shared on kindness, I'll just show it here, reflect appreciation, acknowledgement, and encouragement are the key elements to exhibit kindness. How does one strive to remain in a perfect situation always?
Well, the ultimate answer, I mean, I'm not a scholar or anything, but what comes to mind for me is the solution, which is the medicine that Prabhupada has given us. And that's in the form of the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. That just by that chanting, if it's done properly, without offense, those good qualities will manifest. They will come naturally. And then if you know some of these pastimes, then you can maybe remember something if you're in that position where you're confronted with a particular situation where your emotions are being, your motive, ignorance or passion are rising up in your heart, welling up to react in a negative way, in an ungodly, un-Vaishnava way. Then maybe some of these anecdotes you can remember that, oh, this is how Srila Prabhupada acted, and I should also act in the same way. How we do that? By chanting purely. Hear your rounds as best you can, and those qualities will manifest. Guaranteed.
So here we are in India toward the ends of our Ekadashi, and in other parts of the world towards the beginning. And we'll be looking forward to the next Ekadashi, where we will be exploring more of Srila Prabhupada's qualities. And in the meantime, please make sure that you're subscribed to our emails, following our channel so you get to advance notice of everything, and share it with others, please. We want everyone to find out about all the wonderful nectar that is coming forth from this effort of a whole team of devotees. It's not me or Gopal Bhatta, it's almost about 20 of us working on all of this. So, and others who are contributing from different ways. So please come together. Let's celebrate Srila Prabhupada's qualities so that we may also, by serving him, we may also develop them. Thank you again, Siddhanta Prabhu. We look forward.
Thank you.
To seeing you again soon.
I appreciate the opportunity.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.